Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, dwyervip.com. Remember, the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. I've been roughed up here a little bit in the comment section of the video I completed just a few hours ago, where I dared to suggest that Conor McGregor has a puncher's chance against Floyd Mayweather, right? People are very strident, especially the boxing hardcore, in pointing out that boxing is an art, which I believe, right? And that you've got to be very highly skilled and in tune with the art to be successful. The idea of an MMA guy with no professional fights as a boxer challenging one of the great fighters in the sport's history is just downright offensive to a lot of people. Let me just make a few points though. Folks, Floyd's been out of the ring for quite some time, right? Floyd's an older fighter. This version of Mayweather doesn't beat Mayweather in his prime, right? There's a little bit of deterioration. Dare I say, Floyd doesn't move like he once did. Let me also say too that Conor McGregor is a big hitter. Someone in the comment section said, hey, McGregor's knocking guys out without gloves. When he puts on gloves, things are going to change. Do you really think that if Amanda Nunes put on gloves, she wouldn't be a big puncher? I believe a big puncher is all about coordination and leverage and shifting your weight, timing. I believe McGregor has all of that. I talked about his right hand in the earlier video. He actually is two-handed, right? I just think, unlike many, that his right hand is stronger than his left hand. But make no mistake, McGregor carries a punch with him. Punching power, like a good fastball in baseball, is the great equalizer. You only have to be right once. You only have to catch the other guy by surprise once to have a chance to win the fight. Now, I know that boxing's an art and that dilettantes really can't just jump in the sport and dominate. But understand, the sport right now, has some guys who started in MMA who have not only made the transition into boxing, but have done quite well. Did you know that Lucas Brown, who won the heavyweight title, right? He won the title. He's still unbeaten right now. He got stripped. We'll talk about that in another video, but he won the title. He's still unbeaten. Did you know that Lucas Brown was an MMA fighter? He actually lost matches in MMA. He's lost fewer matches in boxing, fighting more fights. Right? What about Alexander Ustinov? You know, Ustinov is one of the contenders who has a path to the heavyweight title. Right? He's in the system. If he keeps winning, he's going to have a heavyweight title shot. Ustinov's only lost once. That was to Kubrat Pulev. Did you know that Ustinov was an MMA fighter? Right? And so think this through. If we widen the disciplines just a little bit, if we get into the world of kickboxing, you're going to find out that there are a bunch of kickboxers who made the transition from kickboxing into professional prize fighting. In my favorites folder here, I have a fight. It's a kickboxing fight where Vitaly Klitschko, you might remember him, multi-year heavyweight champion, gets KO'd, knocked out. Folks, he's flat on the canvas in a way we didn't see him in a boxing ring, by Pele Reed in a kickboxing match. Understand, Vitaly Klitschko, who, by the way, was a puncher in kickboxing. Guess what? He was a puncher in professional prize fighting. Right? Vitaly Klitschko started off as a kickboxer. Did you know that? That might explain his great body control. As you look at the Pele Reed film that I've put in the favorites folder here on YouTube, you're going to notice that a lot of what made Vitaly a success in boxing, he actually already had in kickboxing. Right? The body control, the lean, the ability to use height, the jab. It comes through on the film. Let me point out, too, that you have a guy, Samrak Kamsing, who was actually a kickboxer. Then he decides to try boxing. Folks, he won the gold medal in the 1996 Olympics at featherweight. Look him up. Right? Kickboxer winning the gold medal in the Olympics. Let me also point out, too, right now, Chris Algieri is a kickboxer who transitioned into boxing and is having success. Didn't he beat Ruslan Provatnikov? Haven't you seen Chris Algieri in the ring against championship-level fighters? Are we that certain that he actually lost that fight to Amir Khan? Right? Algieri's there all of the rounds, folks. That fight goes to a decision. Let's say that fight was relatively close. So, I don't want to hurt the egos of the boxing hardcore. Right? I consider myself a hardcore fan of boxing. But please, it's not a stretch of the imagination to feel that a guy with prodigious punching power in MMA, right, who has a stand-up game, that's important, right? He's not a jiu-jitsu guy. Conor McGregor can beat you standing up. It's not a reach that that guy with a punch might have a puncher's chance against a retired boxer who's now in his later 30s. Right? Wasn't Floyd this close to going down against Shane Mosley? You tell me. I thought his legs buckled. By the way, go back and look at that fight. Right? Mayweather's legs buckled twice in that round. Twice. Now that's with Shane Mosley right in front of him. Not a lot of head movement on Shane Mosley. You're telling me that a younger guy, Mosley himself was an older fighter. You're telling me that a younger guy jumping around the ring with timing, using distance, you're telling me that a guy fighting a David Haye type fight, a Roy Jones type fight, who's two-handed, can't flash in with the right hand, catch Floyd by surprise, hurt him, stagger him, or can't jump in with the lead left hook, catch Floyd by surprise, have him back on his heels, right? Any such moment in this fight, if it were to happen, would have the crowd entranced and would lead commentators to believe that Conor McGregor has surpassed expectations. Let's follow it through. What happens if Floyd actually gets dropped? Again, this version of Floyd Mayweather is not prime Mayweather. Folks, this is post-retirement Floyd. This would be like finding Joe Calzaghe someplace and then saying, hey, Joe, come back in the ring. Right? Come back in the ring. Yes, it's Joe Calzaghe, but it's not Joe Calzaghe at 27 years old. Right? So we're talking about an older Floyd Mayweather against a guy with big-time punching power and ring coverage. Right? I feel Floyd wins the fight. But I do feel that Conor McGregor has a puncher's chance. You remember David Haye against Enzo Maccarinelli. You remember the guys are looking at each other, not a lot's happening. Enzo's completely conscious. Haye lands a haymaker from distance. That's pretty much the end of the fight. Right? Maccarinelli is pretty much wiped out on his feet. Haye then jumps inside, is moving his hands a lot. Maccarinelli goes down, Maccarinelli staggering and stuff like that. Understand, if McGregor can land a haymaker from the outside on Mayweather and have Mayweather staggering a little bit, right? Wouldn't we be in a realm where we haven't been in a Mayweather fight? Right? So I'm sorry. I personally believe that punching power is punching power. That Conor McGregor with gloves on is still a big puncher. Also, the people saying that McGregor wouldn't stand a chance of landing his shots because Mayweather would be too slick. Don't you think there's slick MMA fighters out there that McGregor's fought? I mean, folks, if he's landing shots as part of his stand-up game in MMA against world-class MMA competition, why are we to believe that the possibility of him landing shots against a boxer is that far-fetched? Right? All I'm saying is, as you make your arguments, at least consider the success that people like Lucas Brown and Alexander Ustinov continue to have in the sport of boxing. Right? Let me close by saying this. Years ago, there was a heavyweight champion in boxing, right? Floyd Patterson. He was the youngest heavyweight champion at the time, right? And he had a trainer, Cus D'Amato. You might recall him as having also been the trainer years later of Iron Mike Tyson. And Cus D'Amato used to have a protocol where rather than have his guy in a tough fight in public, D'Amato would literally, behind the scenes, with no one there, pay a tough opponent to come in and test his fighter in private. In other words, win, lose, or draw, the very tough sparring session that was really a real fight. In other words, guys in the corner, 3-minute rounds, you're going, 12 rounds. D'Amato would literally get a good read on his fighter. His fighter would get real experience without the risk of a loss on his record. The other fighter would get the benefit of fighting a world-class fighter. So they claim Cus D'Amato did this with Floyd Patterson, right? The public thought Floyd Patterson was relatively inexperienced. In reality, Floyd Patterson in private had been in the ring fighting against top-level competition. Now, given that Conor McGregor is a multimillionaire today, right? He's a multimillionaire. How do you know the level of his experience when the cameras are off? Right? Is it possible that he has not only been talking about fighting Floyd Mayweather, is it possible that he privately has been in the ring with some badass competition in real fighting situations? Do you really think that Dana White would endanger his brand, his UFC brand, by throwing his lion, Conor McGregor, to the wolves? Right, to the wolves, in a fight where McGregor theoretically could get dissected early. Right, let's just say McGregor's reputation would take a beating if Floyd Mayweather disposes of him decisively in one round. Right, do you really feel that Dana White would say, you know what, even though McGregor is a cash cow for us, even though we make millions of dollars off Conor McGregor, even though our pay-per-view numbers dwarf boxing for many of our events. And I encourage you to research the pay-per-view numbers. I'm going to go ahead and go along with this McGregor-Mayweather fight. In fact, I'm going to publicly offer the two fighters $50 million worth of purses to split. Even though I know my guy, a central part of my brand, is going to be destroyed inside of 3 minutes. Do you really believe that's the calculus? Don't you think Dana White might privately feel that the expectations for his fighter are so low here and the opportunity so great because you're catching not prime Floyd, you're catching old Floyd? Right? Don't you think Dana White himself senses the opportunity? So to sum up, yes, I feel Mayweather wins the fight. I do. Right? I do believe boxing's an art. I don't think the man off the street can hop in a boxing ring. The tough guy at the bar can hop in a boxing ring and handle himself against Anthony Joshua. I don't believe that. Or Floyd Mayweather. Right? I don't believe that. The $1 million question here, maybe it's the $25 million question, is whether Conor McGregor is the man off the street. Right? Is it possible he's more like Lucas Brown? A guy who's not dabbling in boxing, a guy who behind the scenes is seriously learning the art. Understand, MMA people are highly structured, highly disciplined. Right? You have so many different styles, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, etc. Right? I don't believe Conor McGregor is taking this flippantly. Right? I do feel that Mayweather likely wins the fight, but that you need to hedge the play with Conor McGregor by KO. Let me also point out too, some people here online have said, hey, McGregor by KO is not going to be 8-1, etc. They feel that McGregor by KO at 80-1 would lack value, right? That's the argument. Wasn't Floyd close to hitting the canvas against Shane Mosley? Didn't his glove touch the canvas against Zab Judah in what should have been called a knockdown? What other guys in their late 30s do you feel are completely incapable of being knocked out against the best in MMA, a proven puncher? Right? I'll just say this. If the odds on McGregor by KO are, as some suggest here online, 80-1, sign me up. No need to put a bow on the package. Casino, take my money, I'll put it at risk. Right? I think McGregor has a better than 80-1 shot at landing a haymaker from outside. Folks, that's his game. Google his matches. You're going to see opponents go from being alert to being dazed and confused and out on their feet. That's how the guy has lived. He's knocked men unconscious. Right? He's a champion in MMA. More than one weight class. Right? For him, Floyd Mayweather's skull is just going to be another skull out there that if he hits hard enough, it'll turn out the lights, give Floyd a concussion. Right? The reputation doesn't matter if McGregor is able to land. Your head can only take so much. McGregor definitely has ring coverage. He's definitely two-handed. Any momentary lapse could result in Floyd getting hurt. I'm telling you, I've seen great fighters get dropped hard in fights. Right? Lennox Lewis, who I consider one of the absolute best heavyweights I've seen. By the way, I feel in the post-Lennox Lewis heavyweight division, that era, post-Lennox Lewis, probably the best heavyweight I've seen is Vitaly Klitschko. You go to the favorites folder here online, right? My favorites folder, you're going to see Vitaly Klitschko knocked out in an MMA match, right? In a kickboxing match. You're going to see him knocked out. If you want to see Lennox Lewis knocked out, I mean cold, look at the first Hasim Rahman fight, right? Lewis hits the canvas. This is even worse than the Oliver McCall fight. I'm just telling you, sometimes the best fighters, Roberto Duran, Thomas Hearns, Duran hits the canvas face first. If you watch the sport long enough, you're going to see some great fighters knocked out. It happens to the best of us. Anyway, that's how I see it. Let me hear from you. I don't think Floyd is completely invincible and immune to going down on a hard punch from distance. I do believe, even in this celebrity match really, McGregor has a shot at a KO if he lands. I do think you need to hedge the play. That's how I see it. Let me hear more from you. No need to be timid. No need to be politically correct. Just lay it out. Be as critical as you want in the comment section to this video. But do yourself a favor. Look up McGregor's fights, right? If you don't know how hard the guy hits, at least look at a couple of his KOs on film before you leave your comments. Let me hear from you. Thanks for stopping by.